Timothy Cole was 26 at the time of the arrest. He was a Texas Tech college student and a military veteran who joined to pay his way through college. He was sentenced to 25 years for a crime he did not commit, but he died 13 years of an asthma attack. On March 24, 1985, Michelle Mallon was parking, about to walk across the street to her dorm, when an African-American man approached her car asking for jumper cables. But when she said she didn't have any, the man reached inside her car where the victim screamed and bit him, but realized he had a knife. He forced her to lay down while he got onto the driver's seat. The man drove to a vacant field and made her perform oral sex before raping her. He then drove back to the school and stole $2 and a watch before leaving on foot. Police believed that the suspect was a tech rapist who had been suspected of 4 prior rapes on campus. The victim could only describe him as African American and as an avid smoker. A composite sketch had been in the local newspaper. 2 weeks later, Cole went to a pizza restaurant near the campus and a few blocks from the crime scene, where he made contact with an undercover female detective, who later insisted to the police that he was the rapist and he was declared a suspect. Detectives were sent to his house where they took a Polaroid picture of him. They called in the victim and showed her a book of lineups, including 5 mugshots and only 1 Polaroid picture of Tim. The victim saw the Polaroid, pointed at the picture, and said, "I think that's him." The next day, the police conducted an in-person lineup with Cole and 4 other prisoners, and the victim once again pointed out Cole. He, a first-time offender, was convicted off of one victim's account and was sentenced to 25 years in prison for aggravated sexual assault. However, the other victims of the Texas Tech rapist were also brought in for a lineup, and none of the 4 victims identified Cole as the offender. A forensics examiner testified that his examiners had received a rape kit and sperm was present at the scene. The examiners found blood type A, the type of the victim and Cole, but also found Mallon to be a secretor, whereas Cole's secretor status was unknown. The lab also found pubic hair and matched it to Cole's. They could not determine if it was for sure his, so they said it was similar enough and concluded that it was his. Cole had a solid alibi. He was at home, surrounded by a group of people for a card game that his brother was hosting at his house. However, the police never took that into account. Another reason why his conviction was wrongful was because the only details the victim retorted was that he was an avid smoker. However, Cole could not smoke because of his asthma conditions. In a similar case that had happened by the Texas Tech rapist, there had been fingerprints found, and they did not match Cole's, but the judge did not allow that evidence to be presented before the judge. In 1995, after the statute of limitations had expired for Timothy Cole's case, a prisoner by the name of Jerry Wayne Johnson confessed that he was the true offender of the rape, and Cole had been wrongfully convicted. Johnson was serving 99 years for 2 rapes similar to the one of Michelle Mallon's. However, the letters were ignored, and Cole died in prison 13 years into his sentence due to asthmatic complications. Johnson wrote another letter, but another judge immediately rejected it. Eventually, the letters made their way to the Innocence Project, and attorneys sought to find the DNA kits. The DNA from the semen did not match Cole's. It rather implicated Johnson as the perpetrator. He was cleared in 2008, and Johnson confessed to the crime in front of a judge, Cole's family, and his victim, Michelle Mallon, in 2009. On April 7, 2009, a Texas judge exonerated his case at an unprecedented hearing. The Innocence Project is important because it brings justice to the victims of the criminal justice system and people who have been wrongfully convicted of crimes that they did not commit. It shows that the law is flawed and that not every person taken into jail or prison is guilty. They take the time to go over the evidence that judges and police often do not. It enforces the law to protect the innocent and to enhance the ability to identify guilt. It ties into the discussion on the death penalty because it shows that innocent people are sentenced to death. It proves that the law needs to be remade and reformed to prevent wrongfully accused people, and lives should not be taken if that many people are proven innocent.